I found this beautiful cabbage in the supermarket and it made me want to make some coleslaw. So here's how I did it. I started out by taking these outer leaves off. They are safe to eat, but I just didn't think that they were ideal for making coleslaw. So I just peeled them back, and this is what I was left with. And when I make coleslaw, I try to practically shave it to get the cabbage as thin as I possibly can get. So I always use this serrated knife, and I just do little tiny bits as thin as I can get it. And after I get a good amount off, then I start running my knife through the cabbage just to get it cut up even smaller. So I'm just going to take it and try to cut it up even more at this point. If you see any leaves that you don't want, now's your chance to get them out of there and get rid of it. And I just kept running my knife through and cutting it smaller and smaller and smaller. There's a piece I didn't want, another piece. And then once I got it cut up fine enough like this, I used my pastry scraper and I put it in my Tupperware. And I just kept doing the same thing, running my knife through. And I chopped and chopped. And then again, once I thought it was cut up fine enough, I would use the pastry scraper and just pick it up and put it over in the Tupperware. When I got to this point, I don't know if you could see, the inside of a cabbage has a little bit of a different texture than the outer leaves. So I usually stop when I get to that point. You can use the rest of that cabbage for something else if you'd like. I just didn't think I wanted it in my coleslaw. So I put that aside and I grabbed a carrot and peeled off the skin. And this I'm just going to grate it up. If you don't have a grater, you could just try to chop it up as tiny as you can get it. So I finished one carrot, and then this was kind of cool. I stuck the scraper under the grater and got the carrot into the Tupperware. And then I grabbed an onion. And you don't really need that much onion unless you really love onions. I usually don't eat a lot of raw onions, but this I like just a little bit. So I cut little tiny slits into the onion. And then after I cut the slits, I cut it the other way. And I got like an itty bitty little tiny dice. Just enough to flavor the coleslaw. And I transferred the onion into my Tupperware where we had the carrots and the cabbage. So that was it, just that much. Again, you could put more if you really love raw onions. So here's what I had so far. And I put it aside and I started making the coleslaw dressing. This is white vinegar and ground black pepper. I didn't really measure here, but I tried to film it in real time so that you could see how much I'm putting. And this is really to your taste. If you like things with more salt or less, we tend to use less salt in this house. You could use whole milk. This was 2% milk. This recipe really doesn't have to be super specific. It's more to your liking. This is light mayonnaise, but you could use regular mayonnaise as well. And I just added it in. and I mixed it up. And after we do this and add the dressing to the coleslaw, I always taste it because it is hard to get it right every time. I mixed it up. Then I added some sugar. I know this looks like tons of sugar, but remember we had vinegar in there, and we are also going to add a lot of lemon juice. So the sugar is going to offset it. You could adjust this how you'd like. I tend to like my coleslaw super lemony and very sweet. So I started out with 2 lemons, and you always want to make sure that you wash them first. And I squeezed out the juice. I had this little strainer thing here so the seeds didn't go in. If you don't have this stuff, that's perfectly fine. You can just squeeze it by hand and try to fish out the seeds. I just did this because I had it here and I thought it would just make it a little easier. You can always tell if a lemon has a lot of juice, if it feels like it's kind of on the heavy side. When I go food shopping, I actually pick up all the lemons and try to get the ones that are the heaviest, because those are the ones that are going to have way more juice than the ones that are really light. So I did 2 lemons, and I put the juice into my coleslaw dressing mixture. See, the seeds stayed in here. And here it goes in the mixture. And I just mixed it around. It's looking pretty good here. So at this point, you could dump it over the cabbage and either mix it up really well by hand. If you have one of these Tupperwares that has the snap lid, it makes it a little easier. You could snap the lid on and just shake it all up. Then I taste tested it, as I always do. And to me, it needed a little more lemon juice. And I think I put a little more sugar. I did. A little more sugar as well. I mean, it wasn't bad, but after 1 more lemon and a tiny bit more sugar, it tasted more like how I like my coleslaw. So I shook it up again, put it in this nice little dish so that it looked fancy serving it. Let me know in the comments how you guys make your coleslaw. I'd love to hear from you what your recipe is.